countries have a brand of liquor that tells a story of their history. Wine is mostly associated with the European countries, France, Spain, and Italy. Beer is a dominant force in the UK and Germany. You can't think of Ireland or Scotland without whiskey. Vodka is Russia's stamp on the world. Mexico has tequila and the US has many, but bourbon has a solid claim. In the East, Japan has sake and the Koreans has soju. So which liquor would you associate with China? I would say Baijiu. China's national liquor and the most popular drink is Baijiu. Baijiu is a clear liquor distilled from fermented grain, usually sorghum. Be forewarned, because Baijiu may look like the other clear liquors the rest of Asia has to offer. But it is significantly stronger and not for the faint of heart. It typically runs around 40 to 60% ABV and has been described as a mouthful of flames. This burning liquor does have a national classification system. It has 4 distinct classifications: strong aroma, light aroma, sauce aroma, and rice aroma. Wine is definitely not the only drink judged on its odor. Now, with that glowing review of Baijiu, you probably would ask, why is it so popular in China? To find out, we have to go dive into Chinese culture. Chinese culture has been responsible for many technologies that have helped develop the rest of the world into what it is. From martial arts to gunpowder and liquor, Baijiu started its journey from its first form, Huangjiu, under the Han, Tang, and Song dynasties. Huangjiu was said to have guided the brushes of painters and coaxed words from poets. But alcohol soon became a battlefield. Confucianists spoke of moderation, while Taoists preached enlightenment through drunkenness. Who knew Taoists would be such fun philosophers? Ultimately, Huangjiu becomes Baijiu around the Ming Dynasty and was called Shaojiu or burnt wine. Baijiu has touched all aspects of Chinese life, influencing religion, art, philosophy, and politics. It brought enemies together and kingdoms to their downfalls. Even today, it's the go-to drink for banquets, weddings, funerals, and as offerings to gods and ancestors. Though it isn't that well known around the world, its popularity hasn't dropped. Having sold 10.8 billion liters in 2018 alone, more than whiskey, vodka, gin, rum, and tequila combined. It's not hard to see why Baijiu is so important. It has been ingrained into the Chinese culture and was essential in shaping Chinese people's, mainly northern China, identity for millennia and will continue to do so. Making Baijiu is a very complicated process, but I like to think that every Baijiu involves 5 steps. Those are steaming, fermentation, distillation, maturing, and blending. You start with steaming, and this is to break down the outer cell walls of the grains and make it easier for the microorganisms from the qu, that is the yeast, to enter the grain. When you mix the qu together with the grain, that begins fermentation, where the starch within the grain is converted into alcohol by the combination of the malt and the yeast within the qu. After the grain has been fermented from anywhere from a few days to several weeks, you will take that grain and put it back in the steamer, where you will run steam through, and the heat of the steam will extract the alcoholic vapors, which will cool back down into a liquid that we would call a baijiu. Now, each one of these baijiu that you create, you're going to age separately in terracotta clay jars. in order to mellow out the consistency of the drink and to develop more complicated flavors. Finally, you take aged Baijiu and you blend different batches of it together. You do this to maximize the flavors and balance them out within the Baijiu. But you also do this to maintain consistency from one batch of Baijiu to the next. When you go to a Chinese restaurant, it's hard to miss the scene. Chinese people ordering hot water. In the office, during meetings, we will be sipping away. At airports, you can spot them filling up the thermos. For Westerners, water is best enjoyed cold. But in China, plain warm water is the beverage of choice. So how much do Chinese people love hot water?
I drink it all day, every day. I have a thermos by my pillow at night.
我外婆说热水对身体非常好，还有润喉。
A hot beverage is essential part of Chinese tradition and habit. So why are the Chinese people obsessed with hot water? Number 1, to keep warm. Without central heating and proper clothing, it was hard to keep warm during winter in ancient China. Number 2, sanitation. In the old days, water was drawn from natural sources such as rivers and streams without filtration methods. That meant the water could contain millions of microorganisms that could make people sick. Our ancestors believed that the boiling water was the easiest way to kill most of the harmful bacteria. Number 3, Chinese traditional medicine. Perhaps the singular reason why the drinking hot water habit persisted until now is that Chinese people believe that good health is related to body temperature. Since over 2,000 years ago, there is an ancient transcript called 黄帝内经. Yes, 皇帝 is 神农, the same person, the same divine being. It talks about how drinking cold water would hinder the organs from functioning properly, and that's why it's just essential thought for Chinese people to have a habit of drinking warm water. In TCM, there is a concept that balance is really important. Drinking warm water can nourish the yang, hot energy in our body, which is like the powerhouse of the body, and it can make sure that our organs are functioning properly. Traditional Chinese medicines brought acceptance in Chinese society, meant people developed an abiding faith to hot water and its benefits.
For me personally, I think especially after a meal, when you're full, the food is a little bit oily, I think the warm water definitely helps the digestion.
In Vancouver, where I'm from, whenever my mom and her friends like to eat in a Western restaurant, they like to order hot water with lemon. And waiters and waitresses, they call these drinks Chinese martinis.
But even though Chinese people do need hot water to be healthier, it wasn't always readily available. Fuel was hard to come by in ancient China, and so boiled water became a luxury for most people. Those who couldn't afford it saved it for the sick, elderly, and pregnant women. So when did it become more accessible? In the 19th century, some enterprising Chinese came up with the idea of opening stores that sell hot water. They would call it 老虎灶 or tiger stores. Think of them as cafes, except the only thing on the menu is hot water. The stores were able to scale up and sell hot water at a low price. With that, hot water became an accessible drink for most households. Nowadays in China, not every company has a lounge or break room, but they will have a room for water dispensers, and it will definitely have hot water. Whether you are a clerk, white-collar worker, taxi driver, or street cleaner, everyone will have a bottle just for hot water. This is why even during sweltering summers, you can still find Chinese people sipping hot water out of a thermos. But don't you feel that actually drinking warm water is more soothing and it actually helps alleviate the thirst better than just shocking cold water? So remember, 多喝热水